Hello, I am Adriana, a mom and a neuroscientist. They are Miruna, my daughter, and Radu, my son, both unschooled. Our story is simple. I've heard about homeschooling on a documentary on National Geographic. There, a biologist described his research in Patagonia, on whales. He said he spent years in observing them together with his family, and the kids knew all the whale species and recognized them from far away. I was stunned. How come? He was homeschooling his kids. Since then, given the poor performance of the educational system in my country and the genuine unhappiness of my kids who were going to school and kindergarten, I've decided to put the school aside. This is how our adventure began. People around us were outraged. Later on, watching our kids grow, more and more parents asked me how to quit the system. So I've decided to set an educational resource center where kids and parents may learn what they want whenever they want. The first results came first and fast. More balanced and cooperative kids, joy of learning, better focus and reasoning. I take my kids with me whenever I go, so we travel a bit. And traveling is the best and the most beautiful learning experience. They have seen most of the European countries, met people, and shared their experience with them, no matter their age. We share our house as well, with people from all around the world. They come to see Bucharest. So we get some real life news and a glimpse from some other points of view. To get this educational research center and to make it professional, I've started an EEG study. Given the information that the studies of brain development show that higher order brain centers, such as the prefrontal cortex, don't fully develop until young adulthood. Gray matter, the working tissue of the brain's cortex, diminishes in a back-to-front wave as the brain matures and unneeded connections are discarded. I've started with a simple question. Is education a science? And if not, what's missing? Usually, we spend a great deal of time on studying brain, but the human body is a whole, which is something else than the sum of its parts. Education and psychology need neurosciences in order to become sciences as well. We can explore now the brain using various neuroimaging devices. We can identify now 4 functional networks, highly consistent across subjects: visual, sensory, motor, basal ganglia, and the default mode network. Neuroimagery shows us how different brains are, though. You may see some brains which will never fit in a society used to impose a normality about no one knows what is it. There are many examples of scans that may explain all the so-called disorders teachers diagnose as laziness, lack of respect, and other traits which don't belong, in fact, to character. We have to discuss as well about neuromyths, the ideas which were misunderstood by the public, like people are either right or left-brained. Well, people are either logical or creative. What means logical or creative, though? How do you measure creativity? According to a theory of education, the left or the logic hemisphere deals with math skills. But there are different kinds of math skills, and the ability to deal with numbers come from processing in both hemispheres. You can see the number of cortical areas involved in a working memory task. Another neuromyth is that the first 3 years of a child are decisive for later development and success in life, because the brain is only plastic for certain kinds of information during specific critical periods. But this neuromyth was formulated after studies on birds. Yes, on birds those 3 years are very important, but in humans it's different. We talk a lot about the enriched environments that enhance the brain's capacity for learning, but actually the richest environment is the nature itself. So let's reconnect with nature. Or there is a visual, auditive, and a kinesthetic type of learning. Well, to fully develop as a complete being, all the senses have to be stimulated, and we have more than 20. Each child is fully and exceptionally gifted, but the society he lives in prunes the abilities which are not considered at a certain moment. This is the theory about the type of learning. Another approach is Howard Gardner's theory of multiple intelligences. Although useful in stimulating people to unpack their gifts, it may block the fully manifestation of the intelligence itself as a result of the whole human potential. Another myth says that we only use 10% of our brain. Well, this is only a story, of course. We use 100% our brain. Or 2 languages compete for resources. The more one language is learned, the more the other language is lost. Well, it's not quite true. Neuroimaging studies show that the zones involved in processing languages are bigger for those who speak more languages. So, we are more than our brains, and most of our lives occur beyond our mind, beyond the so-called control. At the Redesign Educational Center, we develop holistic methods of education. Digimath art is tailored to help kids not only get along with math, but to understand math is everywhere, and this is a real joy. What is Digimath art? It is a method of studying, learning, and teaching mathematics through programming and computer graphics. It is the result of 20 years of study. It is also a method of generating fractals and fractal art. We can create realistic fractal images. The objects are fractals because they are generated starting from very, very little information. All points of the objects are represented through one single set of parametric equations. Kids determine the parametric equations of the coordinates through operations on functions and function composition. The same method is applied for the components of the color. How does the method work? The teacher creates an application, and then the theory is chunked into steps. Then the kids get all the formulas and switch them into source code. Each step has its correspondent in the source code. You may see detailed study of operations with trigonometric functions. First, some theory is provided, like what happens if I multiply the function with a number, or what if I multiply the argument with a number, and so on. The result is a pattern which is used to create different models of petals of flowers. Trigonometric functions is a part of an entire chapter about functions. You may see just some examples. There are some other mathematical concepts. Objects which are already created can be transformed using those concepts. Flowers can be reflected using analytic geometry. Effects of illumination can be obtained using vectors or differential geometry. There are many softwares that use these methods, but they are not applied in schools. Children learn just to use these softwares. What we teach in mathematics is applying these methods and to create applications through computer programming. The method is so motivating that even a 13-year-old teenagers can understand and even prove those formulas. I used the word teacher, but we have no teachers at the Redesign Educational Center. We are human libraries, supporters, moms and dads, you name it. Everything to cherish and celebrate a delightful development, testing good and bad emotions, associating them with learning, selecting what is good for our development. Actually, we grow all together.